All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Earth Science. It looks like my microphone went crazy at about this point in the finishing up the lab video, so let's pick up from there. Um, there should have been enough in that video to get through this question. The Hawaiian Seamount Chain, basically the chain of underwater mountains that extends out that way, all forming exactly the same way. The hotspot essentially sits still, and the crust moves over. I should do it up here. Hotspot sits still, crust moves over the top, continually producing new volcanism, while the old ones move off that hotspot and then therefore only get smaller due to weathering and erosion, which is the key to number two. Why are most of the hills in the seamount underwater? We'll take Hawaii's getting bigger like every day while it's erupting. But these guys are now no longer like connected to the plumbing of that hotspot. So all that's left is for them to get beat up by wind, waves, erosion, rivers, humans, animals, root wedging, frost wedging. We would have a ton of that in Hawaii. But that's going to continually beat up on these islands until they get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then, like you see in the seamount, eventually completely underwater. Double click SM3. I suppose I'm going to have to open up that Google Earth. One moment. Okay, we got it here. We're good to go. Double click SM3. This is the same seamount chain. What happened to the directions? See the yellow line. So, again, just saying the same thing I essentially just said. If the hot spot is right here, continually producing new magma right down through here, and the next island will be down here, but not because the hot spot moved this way. It's because the plate, if the hot spot stays in the center of your screen, the plate is actually going to move that way, meaning that we'll build a new one down here. So this like track across the ocean floor is a history of that hot spot where the island's getting smaller and smaller and the seamount's getting smaller and smaller. But you get to here, and suddenly there's this hard turn, which lets us know that sometime in Earth's past, this plate must have been moving more in like a northerly direction, which is why there's that path there. And then at whatever approximate time that this one was forming, it must have like tectonically, these plates, something came in and banged it from the side, or it shifted, or something happened tectonically, where now this Pacific plate is moving more in a northwesterly direction, west to northwest at that. Okay. So how do we simplify all that? Whatever the direction. So 3 is like straight up. It tends to point pretty northerly that far back. What does this indicate about how the Pacific plate moved in the past? Is that it would have been moving more in a more northerly direction previous in Earth's history before that point. Zoom back over the Hawaiian Islands, which are bigger and smaller. I used to like have them students list these, but I think I had a different document to work on too. So we won't worry about all the names. So how about we say the main island of Hawaii is the largest, which again, we're kind of saying the same thing over and over again, is largest because it's continually growing. And then we'll just say all the others are smaller. And you can name them if you want, but don't have to. All right, so 6 is going to be kind of the challenge one. Using like, you can use this diagram if you want, or you can ignore it and just write a paragraph. You can use what you did back here as the very first part of the lab and use that video. Maybe even check that video out again. Use what I said in this and give me a more than a 2-sentence thing. A little bit more than a 2-word thing. How about that? Give me like if you had to explain to somebody how the Hawaiian Islands form. Do it like from scratch. How would you explain this to somebody so that they understood it? Okay. There's some things in here that we want to have. Direction of the plate moves, how the hotspot works, which islands are active, where the next volcano will form. Use that stuff. That's going to take more than just, a sentence fragment. This will be a tiny bit of writing, which you are all capable of. You'll do a great job. And sorry that last video got screwy, but hopefully this helps. Good job.